Folks, welcome. You got the restaurant technology guys here. Mr. Julian, good morning.
Good morning, Gary.
Hope you start to feel better, my friend. Ryan.
Good morning, everyone.
Thanks for coming in, Ryan.
Every day.
Excellent. Guys, today, monetizing mobility. Making more money in more places with mobility. This is happening all around us every day. It comes from retail, it trickles into our segment, and so we've got to dig into it. We're going to do something, or a request of you guys that we do something a little bit differently. I really want to stimulate your thoughts around what we are proposing. Debate it, contribute to it, pull it apart, add to it. We welcome it. We're going to go through and start with actually defining mobility, past, present, and future, and then go right into the different opportunities by segment in your restaurant. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, ironically, we call it order mode, but I think it's kind of the idea of the different methodologies to use different mobile platforms to just drive more revenue and or drive customer satisfaction.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Thank you for adding that. And then we'll jump into the Q&A. So let's get into defining mobility. Let's talk about the past first, Jay.
So, it's always interesting when you say the past. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and so I could go way back to 20 years ago when everything was flat panel. And I was just talking to somebody a couple weeks ago that worked at a competitive point of sale product, and they had done these Seiko handhelds, and we did them as well years and years ago, and they were pretty revolutionary. You had to like register the bandwidth with I don't know, you had to register them with some government agency to make sure that you weren't stepping on somebody else. But really, when we talk about the past, I'm kind of talking about prior to the advent of the smartphones and prior to the advent of, really the iPhone, which really kind of revolutionized that space. You didn't have a ton of mobile. There was a little bit of paging. There was a little bit of, there wasn't a tablet anywhere to be seen. There was no such thing as a tablet. So it was these big fixed computers, and the wireless spectrums were really tough. We were even playing with stuff from Europe where they had these tablets in the past, but it was definitely not very prevalent, and it definitely was not something that you could put in front of your staff very easily without a ton of training. And so the past, it was really expensive, hard to implement, and not super reliable.
And now that brings us to today.
Yeah, so really now, and as we talk, we've seen the advent of the iPad has really changed computing. More tablets were sold, more laptops. As computing gets smaller, gets less expensive, people are finding unique and different ways to utilize that type of technology in the restaurant, retail, hospitality space. And so more and more you're seeing things like tablets showing up at tables and tablets showing up at the at the front, wine lists. So there's a bunch of different unique use cases that are kind of happening in our space that nobody would have foresaw 10 years ago. I don't think that anybody, from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small 10 years ago, said, this is where we're going. And if they would have said in the year 2015 that it was going to all be on these smaller computers, and every one of our restaurant tours that we're talking to is asking about tablets and how to get mobile. Why this webinar is so relevant is every day we get asked. One of our most watched webinars was ever, and still is on our YouTube channel, is the one where I went through all of the different tablet options. So we've got a bunch of views of that alone, and there's new ones coming out every day. But today, it's getting less expensive, it's getting more accepted, but I don't necessarily know that it's completely there for full-fledged computing everywhere, type idea, which is kind of where, as we talk about the future, where I think it's going.
And you bring up oftentimes the fact that it has to fit your brand.
It does.
And that usually drills down to demographics.
Yep, and I think that the other part is as the largest percentage of this spend is still happening in the baby boomers, they're not necessarily as ready for it. But as you see this wave of millennials coming in, in the future, I think what you're going to see is that they have grown up with computing. Somebody in Ryan's demographic and even younger have grown up with a computer in their hand, with a computer at every home and at every desktop. They didn't grow up with, that demographic didn't grow up not knowing how to use computing. Okay. My kids can jump on just about any computer, and my kids are 9, 6, and 7, and they can just about jump on any computer and start to use it. They can jump on any tablet and start to use it. And so it didn't matter if it's Android, if it's Windows, if it's iOS, they just jump on it. And so the future, I think, is going to get to that point where you're going to see computing everywhere. You're going to have the computer that's in your pocket. And I say the computer that's in your pocket in the form of a phone that's always connected, always has access to be able to get to the data that you want. And these on-demand services like Uber and Airbnb and these other services are changing the way we do commerce. And I think it's going to continue to impact the hospitality industry in the future.
Agreed. That's a perfect segue, because as we're getting mobile, a term that we hear over and over and over again that we're pushing into hospitality is omnichannel ordering. With retailers like Amazon, where you can jump online and order stuff at the drop of a hat, or those with 4 walls that offer the ability to order online, order multiple different ways. So tell us through, or take us, what does this even mean in layman's terms?
Well, and I think it's a hard thing to define, because it does relate to your brand. But really what it means is you need to be where your consumers are going to be interacting with you. And so your web presence needs to look the same as your brand in the restaurant, needs to look the same as your mobile ordering solution, needs to look the same as your social media connections. So in general, omnichannel is being where your consumer is to be able to maximize their spend with your brand. And so evaluating the multiple methods to get, gone are the days when you can only make your money from the 4 walls and people walking in the door, putting their name on the wait list and ordering food, and then sitting down at a table and then ordering food. Gone are those days. More and more people are on the go. You guys just heard me say 9, 7, and 6. I've got baseball practice and soccer practice and taekwondo and school activities and all of these things that are going on in my life. We need to be able to get in and get out quickly so that we can get our kids fed before bed and still have time to take a shower. And so the ability I make brand decisions and food decisions oftentimes based on ease of access to get in and out. And so if I can get into a casual dining restaurant and order a better quality meal for the same price as I would a fast food meal, and do it in the same amount of time because they've hit me in the space where I am, I will oftentimes choose that brand. So it's adding to my wallet spend with that brand because they make it easy on me.
Yep, absolutely. So we got to start with traditional POS. This is teaching an old dog new tricks. We've got all of these, we talk about omnichannel, we talk about mobility, and what we're not saying is scrub what you got and get the hell out and get to the next latest greatest thing. We're not saying that. What we're saying is evaluate each segment or each portion of your business, all of those areas within those 4 walls that can drive revenue, and it starts with your POS. The interfaces have changed drastically, and so it's becoming more capable, enabled, if you will, by the point of sale systems to add these different modalities.
Well, and where I would start with is I think that you've got an investment in your current point of sale, and rather than just throwing everything out, let's look at how we can leverage your existing investment, and let's figure out what options that point of sale provider has. Almost all tier 1 and tier 2 providers out there, with the advent of the tablets that we showed, the Windows tablets, have an option to go mobile. Mm-hmm. And so consider table-side ordering, consider curbside ordering, consider takeout, consider integrating your online ordering platform. But we're going to talk about kind of really 4 different ways to monetize. Walk before you run. Look at these things and look at these things and say, you know what, I've already got an investment in my point of sale. My staff already knows it. Let's look at how I can leverage what they're doing there and what my vendor's already doing, see if it fits my brand, see if it fits my need. Maybe it's just that I throw a tablet out on the patio for the summertime. Maybe that's as easy as it is, and you save it in labor savings just from them having to walk in and out to get to a point-of-sale device, and then as soon as winter comes around, you scrap that and put it inside and put it into the office until next spring comes around and it gets warmer again. Something as small and as easy as that is going to allow you to turn those tables on the patio all the way through into a handheld in everybody's hand where they can order and get drinks to the table before the guests have even ordered their food. So you think about that and the ability to turn another half a drink per table where you know those are high profit margin items, and you're allowing your staff to be able to maximize that guest experience, but also drive revenue with it.
Not only driving more revenue, but also driving more tips. You're talking about a more satisfied experience.
Yep, so, and more revenue, and your guests are going to be happier because they're getting food faster. We just talked about my life, and I'm not unique in this regard. Gary and I were talking about it before the webinar, is we're always on the go. So.
And another thing is that, you take something that you already have in your restaurant like this, and let's take Jeremy's example of you do stick a tablet in the waiter's hands, right? So you're starting to turn tables faster. You start to build a reputation of, hey, you know what? That is a really well-run restaurant. I enjoy going there because I can get down. There's no fuss. I can sit down, get my food, get my drink, get out. And that in of itself helps build that word-of-mouth marketing that's going to help you drive that additional revenue. Everyone knows that word-of-mouth marketing through whatever form it may be, actual words or Yelp or whatever, is going to help drive people in the door. So making that current investment that you already have more efficient is really going to even help you other ways that you may not even recognize right now.
Yeah, that are harder to measure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're definitely harder to measure. And again, like I said, walk before you run. Look at these things and say, you know what? Before I go doing all of these whiz-bang, let's put a tablet at every table, let's look at this and say, you know what, how can I spend a small amount of money, see my return, see if it fits my brand, see if it fits my needs, see if my staff adopts it, see if my guests adopt it, and then jump on to our second, third, and fourth options later as you go.
Absolutely. And to Jeremy's point about walk before you run, having participated in change in a number of businesses throughout our careers, we see that adoption isn't always instant. Having said that, I will propose that one of the things that you'll see change the fastest, because we just said that it's hard to measure some of this, what you will see change the fastest is the energy within the business. There will be a different energy with your staff and your clientele that you will see that you're like, this is different. It's better. I can't define it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you guys have played around with any of these ideas, we would love to hear about them. There is a chat window. There's a question box in the lower right-hand corner. If you've played around or if you've thought about implementing any of these kind of things, we'd love to hear some feedback. So let us know as we go through.
Or if you guys have anything you guys think that our audience would love, nightmare stories that your audience would love to, that the audience would love to hear. We've done hundreds of these implementations and probably have some nightmares to share, but we also have some really good success stories that we've done just by utilizing point of sale and adding this stuff.
So we'll jump right into one of the ones that you'd mentioned with your traditional POS. To me, this is the lowest barrier to entry.
Yep. Yeah. As you guys look at it, I think the next step as you're walking down that path to get to mobile is you got to have an online presence. You got to have an online presence that allows people to order food. Ryan and I were talking about it. I mean, mobile has surpassed browsing on regular computing workstations, and so with that, you have to have a mobile-enabled site, allow people to interact and order food from you.
Mm-hmm. And it creates what Ryan's defined here is menus in pockets and on screens. That same experience that you defined earlier, which is whether I go in the door, whether I go to the takeout, whether I'm curbside, whether I'm online, my experience needs to remain consistent.
Absolutely. It gives you the ability to maintain your brand on every platform, but like Jeremy said earlier, he's always on the go, and he doesn't always have the opportunity to browse the internet on a traditional machine, but that just puts more importance on having that mobile ordering, having the online capability with a mobile optimized site to browse the menu, to go look up, see what he has, see what your restaurant has to offer, and being able to take action on that order, not necessarily just browse to see what you have.
Yeah, order the food, send it through, and then go pick it up, so I'm not sitting around waiting, with screaming kids in the back of the car. It's the best. Yeah. I love it.
No, and when you talk about screaming kids, maximum convenience.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and again, you guys probably are listening to me going, "Oh, this guy's just a mess." But the truth is it's a busy life out there. This is what everybody's dealing with.
It's happening at when I was a kid. It's happening at Jetson's pace at this point.
Absolutely. I don't even have kids, and my life is crazy. So I mean, I can only imagine what's going to happen once I do.
Yep.
And then Jeremy brought up earlier also is that brand consistency. You'll hear us say brand over and over again because it has become the imprint that we leave in our clients' minds.
Yep. And it's important. If you're looking to attract those millennials, you have to be where they are.
Yep.
They are on their phone all day long. And so you're looking to attract that younger guest. You have to be where they are, and they will order from you if you get into a place where you make it convenient for them, you make it affordable, you hit these, and you can also, the other thing similar to what Ryan just talked about with us, you can also through your mobile app and or through your mobile website communicate with your guests through social media as well as through your website to get feedback, to get guest stories, to get pictures about what's going on within, as people interact with your brand. It's huge as you think about it.
Yeah. And it's funny because as we talk over and over again, and people probably get sick of hearing about millennials just like they got sick of hearing about Gen Y and Gen X prior to that and the boomers prior to that. When you talk about convenience and you talk about your brand, even your older clientele, let's take demographically 55 and above or 60 and above. Those folks are looking for the same type of convenience. They may or may not be leveraging the latest technology. Having said that, they've got places to go. They're either going to the movies later, or they're dinner and the movies for people that are 60 and above, I think is pretty common. So they've got timelines they're trying to meet where your technology can at least accelerate everybody in the businesses, all of your clients, table turns, movement through the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, what we're really looking to do is share with you guys ways that you can add just some small things to your restaurant in order to drive more revenue.
And so the last bullet, thinking outside the box. I would highly recommend to folks on this call, when this topic comes up, if this topic goes beyond this webinar in your mind, I would take a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. I would put a group of different minds demographically within your business that contribute and do some brainstorming. These ideas will come from within the business. I remember my mom giving me a quote, and it went something like this. Ideas from the top down are organized and generally inefficient and don't work. Ideas from the bottom up are disorganized, messy, and they're usually right. And so what you guys will find in doing a little focus group within your business around these ideas and stimulating some innovation and creativity within your business is just a cool brainstorming session.
Yeah, and we talk about four-wall economics. The truth is most restaurants can produce more food than they have guests sitting in the four walls in the seats. More food. They can produce more food than the butts that are in the seats. Mm-hmm. So figure out how to monetize either the off hours by giving people, hey, order online from 2 to 5, and you end up getting 15% off. Well, you know what? I've got staff there anyway, prepping food and cooking food. Figure out how to do some specials that do that if they order online to get that guest experience starting to go. That's one. And two, oftentimes the kitchen can even produce on a Friday night when the restaurant is full, they can still produce a little bit more food that you can drive some additional revenue that isn't through the butts and the seats that are there.
Yep. The next one is order at the table, and this is I would say new as far as all restaurants are concerned. At this point, the focus has been on, obviously, with table service and enhancing and changing that experience. But there's a whole bunch of things that you're able to do with that technology at the table that you can't without it there.
Yep. No, and you guys as consumers have seen it growing significantly. There's a bunch of different large brands. If you've listened to any of our webinars as we talk about ordering at the table, it's out there. So what we wanted to do was, rather than legitimize the idea of it, we wanted to talk about the ways that you can, if you decide that this is what's right for your brand, evaluate how it could pay for itself and or drive additional revenue through things, you know, on the screen there. Something as small as promotional items and upselling is going to end up driving additional revenue through upselling and suggestive ordering. Almost everybody in casual dining and fast casual, for that matter, well, really everywhere, has suggestive ordering, but it's a training process that you have to get a human being to adhere to, saying, would you like to add the, you know, Cinny Mini bunches, whatever thing. I mean, I went to Carl's Jr. this morning and they tried to sell me cinnamon buns as part of my breakfast. Well, you know what? They are looking to upsell. That lady's been trained and trained well. At the same time, if it's a computer, it's going to do it every time. And so adding the little bit nicer bottle of wine with the steak ends up upselling and then ends up paying for itself. Adding the extra appetizer or the extra dessert adds up to being able to pay for the system, that you don't have to train the staff to do that. You have to train the staff to take care of the guest, not deal with the technology of payment and ordering.
Right.
So there's lots of other ideas on there. I mean, music, games, limited time offerings. Again, we'd love to engage in a conversation about ordering at the table. We believe for casual dining, which has taken the biggest hit as a market segment over the last, you know, few years since the economy took the downturn, fast casual is still growing at a really high pace. Fast food is flattening out a little bit, but casual dining has been taking a real beating as it relates to monetary spend from consumers. And so as you look at that, in order to save some of those things, some of the bigger brands are looking at it saying, how do I put technology at the table to enhance my brand experience, to drive additional revenue, and to keep those guests that are the millennials that want to be on technology when they're eating.
Absolutely. And as restaurateurs, one of our number one jobs is creating an experience. It really is. Whether it's a fast experience, a slow experience, a warm and engaging experience, whatever it may be, you're responsible for creating that experience. And this capability allows you to leverage technology in the consumer's hands like we've never, ever seen before.
Yep. And I mean, as I started out, tablets have made this all possible.
Yep.
And so more and more people are getting more and more comfortable with it. But those are just some basic ideas. There's lots of ideas on how you guys can drive additional revenue and or pay for the cost of ordering at the table.
If you guys have any questions about some of those additional ways you could drive revenue from ordering at the table, feel free to reach out to us via Twitter or email. We're always there, always happy to talk to you guys.
Another way, and the airline industry, in my opinion, has changed how kiosks are viewed. They literally, gosh, how many years ago, have forced us into using kiosks. And there's that reticence at first because you don't want to be, you know, waiting in line with people behind you. You don't know what to do, so they are smart enough to spread them out, create a number of different locations to engage their consumer and move them through the airport. This seems to be coming back to me. It's a bridge between order at the table with that graphic appeal and the ability to do promotional items, limited time offers, all that stuff, but also put the control in the consumer's hands.
Well, and I don't think that, I mean, our slide suggests ordering from a kiosk. I don't even think it always has to be just ordering. You guys are finding that when you go into retail establishments, you go into grocers, you're finding tablets and kiosks, places to look up information, to be able to scan price checks, to be able to, you know, and I look at it and say, it doesn't have to be this big, bulky, get everything paid up front. It could just be a look up the menu. It could be something as easy as pre-order your food so that when it goes into the kitchen, when you sit down, browse through the menu, look through these things, all the way through to ordering and paying, which is kind of the traditional kiosk experience as it relates to the restaurant brand.
Yeah, and as Jeremy said, though, you know what, it is kind of the term kiosk. We said defining kiosk. That term is being redefined. Gary spoke of a very traditional kiosk experience where you do wait in line, and you queue up, and that one point is the point that you're seeking. But we're finding opportunities to kind of catch people as they're walking by, like Jeremy said, in a grocery store, for example. You're walking by, you may see something kind of flash by a screen or flash on a screen, and it catches your attention. It takes your attention, and there's the opportunity to sell. And we are seeing it be adopted in more spaces, in more verticals that really haven't ever adopted technology before.
Right.
Yep. And they're adopting this technology, like in malls. The digital signboards that are in malls these days. It's that action. It's the generation that my generation expects. The generations before me have come to expect it or come to embrace it, and so why not use that opportunity to engage in a sales opportunity or engage in an upsell?
Well, and I think everybody in lots of verticals are doing it. When you go to check out get a rental car, there's kiosks there. When you go to the airport, there's kiosks there. When you go to the grocery store, there's kiosks there. You go to Home Depot and Lowe's.
An ATM is a kiosk.
An ATM is a kiosk. You go to Home Depot and they're looking for you to pay for yourself, and they're looking to take technology and meet the guests where they are. It doesn't mean that you have to drive 100% of your revenue through it, but drive an additional small percentage of it,
right,
through there. So.
Yeah, and technology has really supported what Ryan was talking about with digital. It doesn't matter where you fall demographically, everybody enjoys visual appeal. And in the restaurant industry, we eat with our eyes.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. So like the slide says, it's not just for fast casual either. A lot of people may think that, a kiosk, I have an upscale brand. It doesn't necessarily fit with what I want to do with my brand. That may not necessarily be the case either, because if you've ever eaten at a Cheesecake Factory, for example, that the menu is like 80 pages long now or something. So having the opportunity to sit there and digitally flip through the menu, get the electronic suggested pairings, so you kind of anchor your guests into thinking, hey, I think I'm going to go with a 12-ounce filet and this nicer wine. But just having the familiarity with the menu is going to be able to help you turn tables faster. It's going to help you maximize the efficiency in your kitchen if you do give them the capability of shooting orders into the back and creating pre-orders. Mm-hmm. There's so many different use cases for brands that span from fast food all the way to fine dining.
Yeah, as you're brainstorming this stuff, just say yes to everything before you say no to everything, because it's really easy to whittle down what will and what won't work in your brand. As you're brainstorming, it's yes to everything. And
it's gotten so much less expensive to do. I get that, it might be a few $1,000s, but in the past it was $10,000 to $15,000 to add a kiosk. Mm-hmm. Now it's a few $1,000s with a tablet and an enclosure and getting wireless in there. So you can swing the bat a few more times with the same amount of dollars to see if it fits what your consumers are looking for. And I think you'd be surprised oftentimes when you put these things in there how often they get used.
Absolutely. And the last bullet where we popped in here, making money, these opportunities to drive revenue through your business are really in alignment with what Jeremy just mentioned, and that is being convenient for your customer and putting that technology to use to your advantage if it fits the brand or if you want it to fit the brand. So You know, before we get into the Q&A, we're very fortunate, and I want to thank our company, Custom Business Solutions, is the sponsor of all of the Restaurant Technology Guys shows. We've been in the industry for over 20 years. We do represent one of the top-selling point-of-sale systems in the industry in PosiTouch, and we're also the authors of North Star Order Entry. We are the very first company to ever create an omni-channel solution.
From the ground up.
From the ground up. We started with staff, so our background came from order at the table, and we've expanded this product to cover all of these different modalities for you and your business to drive these different types of revenue through your business and manage it from one cloud-based application.
Yep.
Is there anything that you guys want to add to that before we go into the Q&A?
No, I think I think just as a final salvo, this is a rip and replace type solution that allows you to do anything and everything that we talked about. It is less expensive than a traditional point of sale solution, short term and longer term, and it gets you online to do these things day one. What I would say, if you're not thinking about these topics, the 4 topics that we talked about, you better start thinking about it, or you're going to be obsolete in a number of years.
Really, thank you, Jeremy, because the fact of the matter is that all of the people that are, including ourselves, that participate in these webinars are here to learn. We're here to contribute, learn, talk, debate, fight, argue, come drive our industry forward. So what do we got here, Ryan?
Okay. Are there any questions coming through?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and type those, like it says, in the control panel down to the lower right. One question that we had come through, excuse me, of these different solutions, how difficult is implementation connecting to a traditional point of sale system?
So I'm hearing the question is, how does it integrate to a traditional POS?
No, I think, well, depending upon when the question came in, I think it's really, if you're talking about online ordering, how hard is it to do this? If you're talking about tablets, how hard is it to do it? Is that kind of where the question came from?
Yes.
Okay. So I think it depends on the solution that you're using. Some of the tier 1 providers, Aloha Micros, PosiTouch, Digital Dining, some of those bigger players out there, most of them have enough install base that they've done multiple interfaces with multiple point of sale, tablet solutions. They've done multiple web ordering solutions. As you get a little bit farther down the road, some of the kiosk ordering stuff and some of those things aren't always as well integrated, just because I think there's less opportunity to do it. Gary would say in the online ordering space, it's kind of low-hanging fruit. So because it's low-hanging fruit, a lot of people have gone there. So I would say it's easier for point of sale to get a tablet into it and or a handheld. Secondarily, easy to get online ordering going with a third party, and there's lots of third parties out there. Snapfinger, Olo, Onassys, there's a whole Takeout Technologies, Grubhub. There's bunches of them out there. Find out from your point of sale provider what they have as an option to be able to integrate, and then let's get some of those demos going. And I think we've even done how to integrate web ordering a blog. If we haven't, then we'll get one written soon, so you can use that as a reference to go back to.
And they're all the traditional point of sales are just using push-pull XML technology.
But it depends on what they are. But for the most part, they just have a bidirectional communication with the web ordering. Some of them are tighter than others, and if you were to look at some of the people that are pioneering it, I think it's the pizza space. But most of those people from like Pizza Hut and Domino's have written their own point of sale and have written their own web ordering and have written their own integration. So I don't know that you're ever going to get to that tight level where you can see the driver's car drive into your house from the online portal. But at least if you can get people to be able to order food, pay for it on their phone, and show up and pick it up, it'd be huge.
With the new iPad solutions taking over, or at least invading the space at a great rate, why do the restaurant technology guys feel that the legacy point of sale systems aren't moving to that solution faster?
Hard to turn the Titanic. You're talking about technology that was written in the late 80s, early 90s, and that would be speaking to the top 3 players. Jeremy, jump in at any time, but it really is hard to turn the Titanic. They've got their technology written in a form or fashion that usually is client-based, and so you can't just switch directions smoothly, easily, when all you're doing is carrying on a technology that
has been around for a long time. I would say my other opinion about that is iOS, and we know it firsthand, is hard to work with. Apple is traditionally hard to work with as a developer, not as a consumer, but as a developer. They're not the easiest company to do business to business with.
They're proprietary.
They're proprietary, and their goal is to do B2C computing, and that's their goal. They will say it. They don't necessarily have a business division to sell to other businesses, and so the iPad is hard to do that with. And so that'd be my answer to the iOS question. Android is such a fragmented market, and because Android's such a fragmented market, every week there's something changing about it. Google is another 800-pound gorilla that nobody can control. Windows, although they're an 800-pound gorilla, they're kind of a known entity, and the tablets are just kind of getting to that space where, I mean, just yesterday, Gary and I were debating via email one of our hardware manufacturers that came out with a hybrid tablet point-of-sale device. And more of the traditional point-of-sale manufacturers, and Toshiba and PAR and Posiflex and Partner Tech, and these people are coming out with a Windows-based tablet that'll use this be able to adopt this older technology, use some of the newer technology of gestures and things like that, and be able to marry those two with some of that hardware.
No, well said. And the only thing that I would add to that is the big players are going that direction. They're going there as fast as they possibly can. The challenge that they face is, to Jeremy's point, of getting technology, older written software, to work with newer technology doesn't happen overnight. And so I think you will see in the coming years, everybody's going to have a more prevalent tablet solution. Most of them have it today. They don't have as many success stories to build off of yet, but they will.
Well, and even, I mean, with Oracle buying Micros, they just came out with a new tablet/POS terminal last week or 2 weeks ago that is a dockable tablet that you can pull off, and all of the I/O is in the dock, and then the tablet itself. I mean, we've been doing that with our kiosk for years, where, you know, there's a couple cables on the bottom of it, but it's kind of in a kiosk that we turned into a point-of-sale device.
Right.
I think we were a bit pioneering in that a few years ago when we kind of started driving people that way.
So to kind of be mindful of your guys' time, we'll go ahead and take one more question. But I think it's a really good summation question, and some of our viewers may have had some questions regarding. Can we just do a general recap of what we've discussed today, and some of the best ways to make money with these different options?
Absolutely. I'm going to throw the topic out to the table, and then you guys jump on it. So with online ordering.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that if you don't have an online presence, you need to be there. If you don't have the ability to order from your website, it needs to be there, and it needs to be mobile optimized. More browsing's happening from Android and iOS smartphones and Windows smartphones than ever before, so you have to be in that space. I would say that is critical to capturing the millennial generation and their market spend.
Okay. Traditional.
I think utilizing online ordering, driving it, integrating it with your marketing, driving leads to your online menu via social media, your Yelp pages, all of your different marketing assets is going to help convert some of those people that go to check out your menu online to see where they want to eat dinner or lunch that day, to actually turn those people into dollar bills.
Yep.
Order at the table.
Order at the table, again, all of this, I would say you need to make sure that you are looking at your brand strategy, but I think ordering at the table especially in some of the casual dining space, is something you need to be considering. It's going to end up saving money, creating a better guest experience, allowing people to pay quicker. You're going to get another half a table turn out of each table, per shift. Take that plus the upsell capabilities. I mean, those two things alone will pay for the system. Add on top of that games and music, and/or advertising, and/or limited time offerings, and/or menu engineering to have the picture sell, sizzle sells. Put the sizzle of those things out there and it'll sell. So there's lots of different things as you talk about ordering at the table, if it fits your brand, that are huge.
Absolutely. I think one of the capabilities of our own software, the North Star Order Entries, you can be sitting at the table and you can access your own social media. As a consumer, I can access my social media, and I can tweet, I can write on my Facebook wall immediately at the table what kind of experience I had at the restaurant, and that just helps with that word of mouth marketing. That's going to help drive people in. It's that peer-to-peer relationship marketing.
Yeah, one other thing I do want to add that some people have started to add into this ordering at the table, paying at the table idea is guest surveys while they're still in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So you get a guest survey and you can deal with a brand, something that was problematic real time. Get that guest survey into the hands of the manager right away so they can go deal with that guest before they're out blowing you up on Yelp, and you can make their experience better. Just that alone should pay for in eliminating those negative reviews that are out there.
Absolutely. And then lastly, kiosk.
I think that people that are sitting on the phone need to be careful when we say the word kiosk, because in the restaurant you might have a negative connotation about it, but I don't think it has to be a negative connotation. Digital signage, just that alone, and showing people what you have, allowing that extra 5 minutes that people would spend browsing through your menu, that they can browse through it there, so when they sit down at the table, we had a study a while ago about social media and how much dining times have changed over, with the advent of smartphones. You need to be able to turn those tables quicker. So how do you do that? You get people to know what they're ordering before they sit down at the table. You get their food into the kitchen quicker. Do that from a kiosk, it pays for itself.
I agree.
Awesome. You know what? We're right up against it right now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. The Restaurant Technology Guys Custom Business Solutions appreciates your attendance. Connect with us, cell phones, email addresses for the three of us. And lastly, very special guest coming up on April 14th. That's going to be a good one.
It will be. If you guys want to know a bit more about what we're doing in the Omnichannel space, it'll be huge to be able to go through some of those things.
Yeah, reach out and engage us. Maybe we'll drop some hints about who our special guest is going to be, but this is going to be a fun one. Hey, thank you guys again, Jeremy, Ryan. Appreciate your help today.
Thanks, everyone, for showing up. We'll talk to you all soon.
Bye now.